Really enjoying the show so far. I mean, you all play incredibly intelligent people with brains a lot bigger than my own. I just wondered, in your research, do you sort of have to try and seek to try and understand their vocation and their kind of skill sets? Do you read books on some other theoretical things, or is it okay just to go, do you know what? I don't actually need to understand any of that as long as the character does.
Well, I sort of had an interesting relationship with that, where I did try to read some physics books. And I didn't get on with it particularly well. I've not got a brain that can absorb that kind of information, but it was still useful because it made me have an appreciation of how smart Jack Rooney is as a character. I didn't understand it, but as I was reading, I was a bit like, God, Jack Rooney would understand this. He'd understand what all of this meant. And that sort of informs and sort of makes sense of the way that he sees himself and the way he sees his place in the world. And I think my not knowing it gave me an understanding of Jack that I wouldn't have had otherwise. So I still used it, even though I haven't got a clue. I don't have a clue what I'm looking at.
Yeah, we are definitely not quite as, or speaking for myself, I'm not as intellectual as Jen. I wish, she's a badass. But we were lucky to have an advisor with us, Matt Kenzie, who was an actual particle physicist, and he was there on hand to support us with any questions. And I actually got to do a little field trip with our castmate Jovan to Oxford University and meet real-life physics students who are, smarter than I'll ever be in a million years, but still just people who go to the pub at the end of the day and have a beer with their friends and go to rowing class on the weekend, So that was a great reminder that yes, we should probably understand at least our dialogue, what we're trying to communicate to the audience, but also remember that these are people. Physics is what they do, but it's not who they are.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things where you kind of, as an actor, it's good to sort of front load more intellectual research at the beginning, because if it's too much part of your process when you're showing up just trying to make a scene come alive, there's a point at which you kind of it becomes a little dangerous to still be in that mindset, maybe.
I did a day trip at Oxford once when I was about 13, and that's the closest I've ever got to Oxford University.
Nice.
But there has been an inclination, I guess, kind of maybe coming to the forefront during the pandemic to kind of distrust kind of experts, and particularly kind of scientists. There's been less, I think, in society at the moment towards kind of experts. Do you think it's quite important? I know I'm looking at things in kind of too deep a way, that we do have shows like this, like Free Body Problem, that kind of celebrates and highlights the importance of science and of people who know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's nuts that this sort of anti-expert movement is just bananas to me. Because if you'd broken your leg, you wouldn't just ask your mate who's read on Reddit how to bandage up your knee. You'd go to a doctor. So I do think there are experts for reasons, and that's society is constructed that way. For incredibly good reason.
Yeah, and I think it's all sort of agenda based. It's distrust of science that doesn't fit in with the way that you want to live your life. I think it's almost as if with some of these people, they have a principle or they disagree with a principle, and they just look for theories and arguments that fit into that to provide ammunition for their argument. So it's not a distrust of science en masse. Is a distrust of certain aspects of it that doesn't fit into their view of the world.
But just going to your question quickly, we do hope that this kind of gives a face to that science, so that it's not just a bunch of data that people, plebes like myself, can't understand when we're reading it.
Plebes. Oh. What was that?
Like a layman's person.
Oh. Yeah.
Sorry, maybe that's a Kiwi thing.
Okay.
Like a layman's person like myself wouldn't understand necessarily, but now there are human faces, and hopefully they understand that they are just people. They've just worked very hard to have the facts that they do. Yeah.
I mean, because there's so much kind of going on in this show. It works on so many kind of levels. And I was interested to see there's going to be a companion podcast for it, deciphering the episodes as it goes. I wondered if that's something you'd be keen to listen to. And do you ever find that as actors, you can learn more about your characters and the world you're stepping into from listening to other people's dissections, be it podcasts or even other people's reviews?
I think it's interesting to get other takes on it. I don't think that it's useful to necessarily absorb that and fit it into your process or fit it into the way you see the character. I think all of that's interesting, but we know what our relationships with our characters are because on this shoot we played them for 18 months.
Yeah.
So we, I'm working closely with Alex and David and Dan. They were always very open to questions and open to making a collaboration. So the words on the page was just the start of it, but we all brought so much of our own selves to it. So I think we've all got quite intimate and close and strong relationships with our characters.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Brilliant. Thank you so much, guys. Much appreciated. Best of luck with the release.
Thanks, mate.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey You Guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!